أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله عدد خلقي الحمد لله ورضا نفسي الحمد لله عدد كلماتي الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله لا كل آلي الحمد لله بعد كل آلي الحمد لله قبل كل آلي الحمد لله رب العالمين رضيت بالله ربا رب الإسلام دينا وبمحمد نبيا ورسولا وبالقرآن إماما ودليلا وبالقبلة قبلتين وبالمؤمنين قدوة aṣèlú wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ọba tó ṣàánú wa gbogbo ìgbà ọba tí ń kẹ́ wa ọba tó mọ̀ wá a dúpẹ́ fún Ọlọ́run ọba náà tí ó bá ṣe pé oore Ọlọ́run ọba ni àbá má ti síbi tí a wà lénìí yìí náà a dúpẹ́ fún Ọlọ́run. We give thanks to Almighty Allah, the omnipotent and the merciful, the Lord of the day of our accountability. We thank Allah, we glorify Allah for His mercy, for His rahman over us. May Allah, in infinite mercy, continue to bless us, continue to accept our prayer, continue to strengthen us in the deen, inshallah. Adúpẹ́ ntí a máa gbójú wò lénìí, inshallah, òní tí wọ́n ń pè ní marital problem. Ìgbéyàwó kí a máa rí wàhálà lókè nísàlẹ̀ níbi ìgbéyàwó òní a máa gbójú wò lénìí, inshallah. A sì máa wo àwọn kan wo ló ń fà á, àwọn kan wo ni a lè ṣe tí ó jẹ́ kí ilé wa dúró. Ọlọ́run má bà ilé wa jẹ́ o, ọláwùgọ Ọlọ́run, ọlá àánú Ọlọ́run, ọlá la hawla wala quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Lénìí a ní àsìkò púpọ̀ rárá torí gbogbo nǹkan pọ̀ tí a ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ tí a tún fẹ́ ṣe, inshallah. Tí a bá ti ń béèrè ìbéèrè náà lọ́wọ́ wa, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ jẹ́ kí a máa lò ju báyà bí 2 minutes 3 minutes lọ tí a máa fi nail tí a bá fẹ́ sọ lénìí, inshallah, kí Ọlọ́run kí ó gbà fún wa, inshallah. Our topic for the 10th Woman Enlightenment Interaction for today is marital problem. Marital problem, causes, consequence, and solution. We are treating this topic to make sure our home is intact, to make sure we protect our home. May Allah, in infinite mercy, continue to protect our home from us, inshallah, bi qudratillah. Báyìí máa kọ́kọ́ lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn ìyá wa náà, ìyá wa Neema, kí Ọlọ́run bá ṣe àlékún ìdẹ̀ra, kí Ọlọ́run bá ṣe àlékún àánú fún wọn, inshallah. Ọ̀dọ̀ alhaja wa Neema ni máa kọ́kọ́ lọ, inshallah, bi qudratillah, tí wọ́n bá gbójú wò pé kí ni à ń pè ní ìgbéyàwó, kí ni a lè pè ní ìgbéyàwó. Padà sílọ. Ọmú tara yín.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So marriage,
now,
is the consensual agreement between two parties. My own definition now to come together legally, to start live together, cohabit legally together. In Islam, we know that there are several factors that must exist for this to be legal. This includes that the guardian consents to their intentions, and very importantly, because this is one silence factor in marriages in Islam, is the consent of the bride now to be a party to that marriage. We've seen over the years that this particular most important part of the requirements of marriage was silenced with that of the guardian. We know that of the guardian cannot be removed, and so also that of the girl, bride, most importantly, cannot be downplayed. So even if she requires the guardian and express permission of the guardian to marry somebody, she must be willing to marry. Rasul Sallallahu negated a marriage during his time for lack of consent of the bride, but this most important part of marriages has been silenced. So aside that, we need the offer, the acceptance, the guardian's consent, and that of the bride, and then the dowry, and a publication if we are willing. So that's the walima, what we call the walima today, if we can afford it. But if not, the other requirements still make a marriage legal, whether or not the kind of walima that we see today is affordable by a couple or they are willing to do that. So aside, when we have all of this, we can say that the requirements for a marriage is existing, and then we can say after all fulfillments are met that there's a marriage. The union of a man and a woman then becomes legal after all of these requirements are met.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Àwọn ìyá wa jẹ́ ká mọ tí wọ́n pè ní ìgbéyàwó. Inshallah, wọ́n ní a gbọ́dọ̀ rí ẹlẹ́rìí, a sì gbọ́dọ̀ rí gbàṣẹ lọ́dọ̀ àwọn òbí. A kàn dédé rí èèyàn níta ká ti sọ pé a fẹ́ fẹ́ irú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀. Inshallah, nítorí àwọn ìyá wa tí wọ́n wà lórí ètò, máa bá a mú pọ̀. A fẹ́ káwọn ìyá wa àgbàlagbà náà káwọn náà lè gbọ́n tí à ń sọ yé dáadáa. Inshallah. A lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ ìyá wa Alhaja Biliki Savage. Inshallah. Explain the type of marriage that we have. Ẹjọ́ ẹgbẹ́ pẹ̀lú ìgbéyàwó lánàá. Bismillah.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Grateful to Almighty Allah for long. My sister Naima has explained the more or less the nikah. You know, once they have offer and acceptance is accepted, you have the nikah to make the marriage a lawful Islamic marriage. You know, as it's research tí mo ṣe ni pé our different types of marriage lẹ́yìn nikah. And the other type of marriage we'll come across is called Zawajal Mukta, which is simply a marriage of pleasure. It's practically known within the Shiite, but not within the Sunni Muslim. They do that, but we don't do that. The Sunni Muslim go for the nikah, which is a marriage for life. When you have the nikah, it's a marriage for life. We I belong, we actually marriage ìyàwó tá a ṣe láàrin ọkọ àti aya kan fẹ́ra wọn títí ọjọ́ alẹ́ máa dé ni. Àwọn kan ń ṣe máa ṣe tí wọ́n á sọ tó tún fi yé wa. Àwọn kan tí wọ́n á ń ṣe jẹ́ pé for a fixed period. And you know, I was quite interested because when you're doing a program, you have to research to be able to say to people, like we said, different type of marriage. Lower, some people do fixed marriage, fixed nikah. We don't encourage it. I will encourage a society where in society what we want to encourage is a lawful nikah Islamic marriage where there's offer and acceptance and they both like each other. One like arawa, anifera, lafifera, esigba wa láyé. But the marriage is lawful because so it's a permanent relationship where you now have a temporary, a marriage of pleasure. Is some society they have that. And there's also the nikah miska, you know, that's a non-temporary marriage, which is you don't have certain conditions. There's no certain condition, and basically, you know, they're not living together. You know, so that kind of marriage, nikah misya, is a non-temporary marriage with the removal of some conditions, just like they're not living together. You know, some part of Sunni allows it. But like I said, in our society, in the Nigeria, Yoruba, Northern society, or you know, in Nigeria, you know, and I know in some of us that live in the Western world, you know, our marriages, we live together as man and wife, as ọkọ àti aya, lájọ máa gbé papọ̀. Kò sí pé mo fẹ́ àjọgbélé. Ọlọ́run ò fàyè sílẹ̀ tá bá ti fẹ́ra wa àjọ máa gbélé ni. So àwọn kan ń ṣe oríṣiríṣi ìgbéyàwó bẹ́ẹ̀ pé ní society wọn, ní culture wọn, báwọn ṣe mọ̀ bọ́n ṣe ń ṣe nìyẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n àwo ò farasí yẹn tó pé ká máa ṣe láàrin ẹ̀sìn wa. Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah ìyá wa. A lọ sọ́dọ̀ ìyá wa Akínsọ́lá. Allah pé ẹ bá identify and explain some common marital problems. Kí làwọn marital problem tá ń face? Àwọn tó common nínú ìgbéyàwó tí gbogbo wa ń rí tá a jọ ń rí, ẹ bá identify ẹ̀. Bismillah.
Alhamdulillah, حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه أفضل الأنبياء والمرسلين Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We give glory to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for another beautiful day. And we pray that everything that we'll be discussing will be beneficial to every one of us on earth and in the hereafter. The Isn't in a nutshell, the question before me is to identify some common marital problems. First and foremost, I would say that there will be problem in a marriage from the onset. Tí èèyàn bá ti ṣìyàn, Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ ká ṣìyàn. So the bone of contention here is to choose the right person from the onset, and then to have some kind of premarital, prenuptial agreement, education, and things like that. So if we put all those in place, um, the rate at which there is separation or divorce will be limited. So that is the first thing to think about. I would say the major thing is communication. There is no how we can do away with communication in a relationship, in marriage. Níbi tí communication bá ti ń lack, problem máa wà. It's either you talk too much or you don't talk enough. You are insensitive or you are too sensitive. So tí a bá ti ń ní argument, there are some things that they call marriage mothering argument. So bá ti jẹ́ pé we cannot settle issues amicably, that we just have to escalate everything, then that relationship cannot go well láàrin ọkọ àti ìyàwó yẹn. So irú premarital education yẹn ó máa assist àwọn èèyàn láti lè mọ̀. I was looking at a program, this relationship building couple. I think it's Hendrik and Helen. Wọ́n developed something about communication. It is called the Amigo relationship dialogue. So this is how to dialogue with your partner. So tí problem bá ti ń wà, or even before problem, if you have to put something to your partner, only àwọn ways téèyàn ṣe lè go about bringing things on board tí ò ní dàbí ẹni pé èèyàn ń sọ̀rọ̀ púpọ̀ jù àbí pé èèyàn ń override ẹnì kejì èèyàn. So wọ́n ní kéèyàn kọ́kọ́ wo situation tí ẹnì kejì èèyàn wà. Èèyàn ò lè jókòó sí kó máa fẹ́ wo TV kí wọ́n kàn dé kó kàn dédé bring up issue without even asking that person bóyá nìyẹn ní time fún communication yẹn àbí kò ní time fún. Tó bá béèrè pé is it a good time to talk? Tó bá sọ pé yes, then you can sit down and have some tangible discussion. But tó bá sọ pé no, then you can ask báyìí wo la lè bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn. Tó bá sọ fún ẹ, then you look forward to that. Then kéèyàn dẹ̀ lè listen dáadáa. Tí ẹnì kejì bá ti ń sọ̀rọ̀, kí ẹni àkọ́kọ́ yẹn kó try láti listen. Ó gbọ́ nǹkan tẹ́ni yẹn sọ. Then you be able to mirror back nǹkan tẹ́ni yẹn sọ fún ẹ láti sọ pé okay, you said so and so. Ṣé mo get it right? Tó bá jẹ́ pé ó kù síbì kan, ẹni yẹn sọ pé ó kù síbì kan. Tó bá dẹ̀ jẹ́ pé ó get it right, ẹni yẹn sọ fún pé ó get it right. So that is showing pé o listen sí ẹni yẹn, o ní interest nínú nǹkan tí ẹni yẹn fẹ́ sọ. Tí ní bá tiẹ̀ fẹ́ máa bí ẹni yẹn tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀, tó bá rí bó ṣe show interest sí, sùúrù ló máa fi ṣàlàyé pé no, you missed the part of what I told you. That is not what I meant. So tó bá lè mirror it back then with a little bit of accuracy, ẹ máa ní meaningful communication. Then you try to validate the person. Ẹni yẹn bá sọ̀rọ̀ sílẹ̀, ó lè débi sọ pé now it's time for me to talk. Ṣé o ti sọ títí ẹ tán? Ó yá, ṣé mo lè sọ̀rọ̀ nísìnyí? No, ẹ máa aggravate the situation yẹn ni. But when that person, tó ti sọ kéèsì ti tiẹ̀ tó sọ nǹkan tó dùn, you now tell the person, okay, so this is what you said, this is what you said, this is what you said. Okay, this is the way I saw it. So the man hesitate láti sọ sorry when you are tó bá mọ̀ pé o jẹ̀bi. Another person sọ pé a man that says sorry when he knows that it's right, I mean it's wrong, is an honest person. But a man that says sorry when he's unsure that whether it's right or wrong, that person is a wise man. Èyí tó wá tiẹ̀ wá mọ̀ pé òun tiẹ̀ wá jàre pátápátá tó tún wá sọ sorry, that man is categorized as a husband. So communication is huge in any relationship. Lẹ́yìn tẹ́ bá ti nírọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn padà, ṣẹ̀dẹ̀ ti validate pé nǹkan tẹ́ni yẹn tó wà okay. Then you need to empathize ẹ láti fi ara yín sínú shoe ẹni yẹn pé okay tó bá jẹ́ pé mi ni mo feel by what do I expect from the person, so that by that communication yẹn kò ní go the wrong way. That is that about communication. Insensitive or too sensitive. Bóyá your partner came home and wanted to tell you something, bóyá bí day ẹ ṣe rí àbí bó ṣe lọ, and you just kind of, you are not interested, listen, that person will feel neglected. Àbí tí wọ́n wà too sensitive ní pé bóyá kọ́rọ̀ kan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ ti escalate, ó ti dariwo, ó ti dìjà, ẹ lè settle rift amicably nínú yín. So that is those are common problems. Then lack of sexual intimacy no problem ni nínú marriage. I was listening to another relationship builder or a preacher kind of a thing, I can't remember the name. Ó sọ pé àwọn ọkùnrin pé their sexual life can be departmental. Pé ọkùnrin wọ́n lè pín gbogbo ọkàn wọn pé okay, iṣẹ́ rẹ̀, ìyàwó rẹ̀, sex time rẹ̀, nǹkan kan bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n lè pín. Wọ́n ní but life obìnrin ó dàbí ẹni pé a hub of a wheel tó jẹ́ pé gbogbo ẹ̀ ó wà interconnected, ó wà interwoven. So wọ́n ní then ọkùnrin sexual life wọn, when you pé téèyàn bá mú pépà dání tó bá ṣáná sí iná yẹn ó máa tètè blossom, ó máa jò dáadáa. But obìnrin ó dàbí ti coal that when you tó bá fẹ́ fi coal prepare something, you have to fan it and fan it and fan it and fan it kó tó di pé ó máa blossom tó máa di nǹkan téèyàn lè fi ṣe nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. So tá bá understand ara wa pé pé you want to have intimacy with your wife or with your partner, kò dìgbà tí bóyá ẹ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ jà tán àbí ẹ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wàhálà tán kò tún wá expect pé kẹ́ni yẹn kó dá ẹ lóhùn immediately, no. So ẹ láti pep talk ara yín, ẹ láti show love síra yín so that kí intimacy yẹn kó lè wá like a natural thing. Another thing is change in appearance. Change in appearance, what they say about this is you don't marry for the physical aspect of a woman or of a man. tó bí a torí pé nìyí beautiful àbí ó ṣe hàn kọ bẹ́ẹ̀ torí ẹ̀ ló ṣe fẹ́ lọ fún. That beauty or that aesthetic ó lè má last long. So tó bá jẹ́ pé nǹkan téèyàn rí tó fi fẹ́ ẹni yẹn nìyẹn, then there will be problem down the lane, because tẹ́ ẹni yẹn bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní bímọ or anything happen, the unforeseen occurrences happen like an accident or bóyá ẹni yẹn ní bóyá problem kan tó ń lo oògùn kan tó jẹ́ kó change, you either lose or add weight. Tó bá ti jẹ́ pé you just marry for physical thing, ó máa di wàhálà pé kò ní sí love yẹn níbẹ̀ mọ́, kò ní sí attraction yẹn níbẹ̀ mọ́. Then àwọn obìnrin náà kàn má torí pé bóyá àwọn ti marry kàn wá fira sílẹ̀. No man wants to be home with any old looking bride. Ó fẹ́ wò pé kó ṣe máa ṣe dáadáa bó ṣe ń ṣe yẹn, but some people tó bá ti bímọ àbí tán ti ní one challenge or the other, they just forget everything and they lose all the aesthetics. Ìyẹn náà máa fa wàhálà nínú ìyàwó. Ó lè jẹ́ kí ó lè bring about infidelity in a marriage. Busy schedule. Gbogbo wa là ń ṣiṣẹ́, gbogbo wa la busy, but we just have to be able to create time for our home, our wives, our husbands, our children. So it's not all about work. But she create time for work, no. We should be able to create time for our home. So our gbọ́dọ̀ jeopardize ilé wa nítorí pé a fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́. So àní tẹ́ bá fi sílẹ̀ ní yẹn, ó máa feel lonely. Infertility is another problem tó lè cause wàhálà nínú marriage. Expectation àwọn èèyàn ni pé after marriage, then you start rearing children. But unfortunately, some people, they are not so lucky to maybe a year or two, even so many years. Wọ́n lè má lè bímọ. The thing is to come together seek advice, you talk to people, talk to professionals, see what you can do, and pray, follow medical advice. So nǹkan tó bá ní kẹ́ ṣe ìyẹn ò yẹ kó fa ìjà láàrin ọkọ àti ìyàwó. Financial problems, that is huge, huge. And one person may be a spender, another person may be a saver. And you both may have different values. Bóyá ẹni yìí impulse buyer ni, or ẹni yìí ó ṣì máa ro kó tó rà ni. But when you have all these discussion, before the marriage or at the beginning of the marriage, ó máa jẹ́ kí nǹkan kó easy a little bit fún ọkọ àti ìyàwó yẹn. Or especially bóyá èèyàn kan ló ń gba owó jù, àbí èèyàn kan ni ó ń ṣiṣẹ́, èèyàn kan ni ò ṣiṣẹ́, especially tó bá jẹ́ pé side àwọn obìnrin ni owó yẹn ti ń pọ̀ jù, àbọ̀wọ́n ló ń ṣiṣẹ́ ni, a máa ní ego tó dẹ̀ yẹ kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀. So we should see ourselves that we are in a marriage. We should be committed to that marriage in good and bad, during ups and downs. Ká lè maintain ilé yẹn, ká lè stay committed sí ilé yẹn. I have a lot, but then ó dàbí ẹni pé Imam sọ pé ní time púpọ̀. So I think I will stop here for now.
Alhamdulilayi Rabbil Alamin. Tabani ká máa sọ àwọn àìṣedéédé inú ìgbéyàwó àbí challenges inú ìgbéyàwó pọ̀ gan. A kàn mẹ́nubà kókó náà ni. A wà lọ sọ́dọ̀ Alhaja wa Nahima inshallah. Ipe ẹ tún bá gbójú wo àwọn challenges tí ìyá wa sọ yìí, Alhaja wa Kéwúṣọlá, ẹ tún bá gbójú wo dáadáa. Ẹ tún bá gbójú wo àwọn nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ yìí. Ẹ tún bá gbójú wo tó ń ṣe àìṣedéédé nínú ilé yìí, ẹ bá tún gbójú wo. Bẹ́kẹ̀ náà tó bá tàn mọ́lẹ̀ sí. Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So Alhaja Kéwúṣọlá, gbogbo nǹkan tí wọ́n kà lẹ̀, nǹkan kan ní gbogbo ẹ̀. Nǹkan kan, there's one very important thing in marriage between couples. No matter the form of marriage that you have. My nikah, for instance, was entirely Islamic. No dating, no courtship. But the sincerity between both parties has sustained the marriage till today. So òótọ́ is the basis, the foundation of marriage, the sincere intention to be with the other partner, common goals. Most couples, àwọn younger couples, listen, everybody is claiming, I love my husband, he loves me back. Even before my age, most of the divorces that you see, the bottom line of the major cause of it is insincerity as to the goal of the marriage. So a man marries a woman, but he wants a maid. A woman marries a husband, but she wants a bank. Things like that, and people not willing to put their all. You can't come into a marriage and you give 50% and you're looking on the other side and you're demanding 100%. That's the basis of most issues in marriages. Teba Ridada, when I'm dealing with an issue presently in the office, and the brother married the sister, but what he calls a Muslim wife is clearly a maid. So what the woman would do out of love is what is missing. What she would do out of love, as he has found basis for it in the hadiths, not the lives of the Rasul Sallallahu, but from maybe the stories of the Tabi'in and some of them that is justifying, that I did not take time to verify, as the way the women around the Prophet Sallallahu were made to live. So your wife is overwhelmed with ironing, washing, and she wants a life, she wants a career. You say it is un-Islamic to have that life. That woman is in that marriage like she's in a prison, and she cannot find her voice to express what she's going through. So because you are supposed to be the more knowledgeable one, but you have come into the marriage insincere, and you would find your basis for whatever you do to her in Islam. Just like àwọn èèyàn kan ṣe Boko Haram sí, ṣé wọ́n represent Islam? But every time the word comes out, they say Islam is against Western education. The same Islam that says knowledge is very important, seek it as far as China. You know? So people would find any means to justify anything they want to do. So for me, as a young girl, I think I started at 16 to pray for the kind of marriage I want. And it's not because we don't have our ups and downs. In fact, we fight. And I have said it on the show where I work that I have asked for divorce from my husband 9 times because I will ask for it as soon as I'm upset. But my husband's goal in this marriage is clear to him, never once doubted himself. And he will say, me, I don't want to divorce you. So this conversation, you must have it no matter how difficult. So when tempers are flared down, we will have the conversation. And now I have matured to the point where I know when that divorce is not going to happen. So the conversations, we will have it.
Kò dénú gbà yẹn náà.
Kò tiẹ̀ dénú, tí onínú fùfù tó bá ń bínú, ó máa tètè máa sọ̀rọ̀ tí kò mean. But most marriages, the things that you will do for love, bí kí obìnrin wà nínú ilé, your house for me is a company. If you are the CEO of a company, you put your hands out, hands on deck to make it work. Tí ẹ bá ti wà nínú ilé ọkọ yín náà, is the same system that you're cooking for your husband is not a slavery, except it is made to seem that way. So it is made to seem that way. Tí ọkọ náà bá wá dáhùn pé ṣé látijọ́ yìí sí ìwọ yìí ò tí mò ń jẹ ṣe, because Rasul Sallam was the kindest in terms of speech to his wives, and he said the best of you are those that are best to their wives. And when we now claim to be Muslims and the language that we speak, give me my food, they craze. Sorry, ẹ pé báyìí ṣé báwọn ìyá tiẹ̀ ṣe ń ṣe lélẹ̀, you know, ojoojúmọ́ ni yàn ń jà kíní, mo máa fẹ́ yàwó lé ẹgbẹ̀ngbẹ̀yìn ní àwọn tó mọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe, you know, those kind of things. You are not even giving the person a chance to grow. Most people want to kí n gbà pé in marriages you grow. Okay, me, I married at 26. Ṣé mi ò ní grow ni? I didn't come to the marriage with all the knowledge that I needed, and it's just 12 years. I didn't come into the marriage with all the knowledge, that all the apparatus that will make it work, except that the sincere intention to marry for the sake of Allah and not commit zina. Every other thing, I will be picking it along the way. But I've seen the harshest. In fact, I was Amira MSS then in Lasso, and I particularly fingered out like 3 brothers. I said, even if you cannot marry me, they cannot marry the enemy of the maid of my enemy in their speeches. And these people are sound in Arabic, sound in they are the leaders. So we are working in the Muslim community. Ramadan, for instance, we are preparing iftar as Amira, and then before then, a chairperson planning committee for Ramadan and all of that, or secretary at a particular time. I will be in the heat of cooking, and your brother will be talking actually as if he was to hire my services, he can afford it. We don't have what is called simple empathy. If you have it for the next person, you can have it for everybody. For me, what I looked out for my husband when I met him, because he wasn't as sound in Islam as the husband I would have loved to marry at the time. But my father was like any inimufe fuen, you know, and he had such courtesy and respect for every person around. So when everybody was waiting for me to fall in love, I was watching his relationship with everybody he met and people around, and how he respected people. This person will even have excess of respect enough to share. Most people, that is the basis of everything. The lack of empathy and insincerity from the beginning, the get-go. What they're coming in for is on both sides, not only brothers. But because sisters are made to suffer more, they carry the baggages when they have children, they deal with a lot of other things if the man chooses to abandon them. Is why we focus more on the sisters, and but in Islam, as a Muslim woman and a lawyer, I think we need to seriously train our brothers. We've overtrained our sisters for marriages. But we need to be honest, and this is Nasfat, that's why I'm using this platform. Our brothers don't know what it is. I had infertility. God forbid I married a husband like the brothers that I fingered out in the Muslim community. I would have been called different kinds of names. I got into my marriage thinking I had no problem because I married chaste. But I came in and the doctors said we had a problem. And I kept looking at my husband. People could say, Jamie, like me, that I'm a godly girl. I come from a religious background. But once the diagnosis came, I had PCOS. And I looked at my husband, because he's an empathetic person. He was smiling. We'll face it and we'll get past it. He didn't even ask any negative questions. It was me who asked the doctor. So how many years, or within how long is this period of treatment going to take me? He said, okay, on the shortest case is a 10 years period. But I had my daughter within 3 years of my marriage because I had a husband who was positive all through. So infertility, Sister Keoshola Mabinu, is not, it can't be a problem in the marriage. It's the insincerity of the couple that is the problem. Once it was a person's problem, you then say, Oja Kukuni Mora. It's every day people come. Rasul Sallallahu married Khadija. She had about 7 or 8 children. But he married Aisha, who never had a child, and the world did not fall down. But when our brothers make these issues heaven, and they claim to be an exemplary life of the Rasul, you'll be wondering, Sheikh Islam, in fact, me, I don't have a code of life. This the Sunnah and the Quran. In the examples of role models that I have Khadija as my role model. And in their love language, in the love of my marriage, the type I want to have, I have the example in the marriage of Rasul Sallam and Khadija. I don't go far. But we who, in this world today, the brothers who claim to be the Muslim, the sound, the Arabic, Quran Kaleba, the fear of Allah will catch you. But once they open their mouth and deal with life issues, you wonder, how do you apply this knowledge to life? And the same goes for some of our sisters too. Z-word is their code. So many attachment to fictional movies, and they want to bring that into marriages. So may Allah assist us. I don't want to go too much. I have too much on my head. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah. Yawa Bilki Savage. Ẹjọ́ ẹ bá gbójú wo kí làwọn solutions sí gbogbo ohun tí a ti ń sọ yìí.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. My sisters have done justice, and I think pẹ̀lú gbogbo tí Ajia Rashida Ajia and Naima sọ, and starting from the sincerity of purpose, sincerity because tá a bá lọ kí ni àdéhùn tá a bá lọ sí ìgbéyàwó yẹn, torí pé there is no easy marriage. Allah have said in the Quran, I will not overburden you more than what you can bear. And with every difficulty there's ease. With Ọlọ́run sọ ni pẹ̀lú gbogbo ìnira Ọlọ́run máa fi ìdẹ̀kùn sí. And I think I'm starting from there because particularly, like my sister said, there's too many, I call it instant salvation, because people look for instant salvation to solve their problem. They watch the movie, they see this, bam, I can do this, bam. With that facing reality, there's no smooth path. And marriage will have the difficulty. Now, for me, starting point is where Elijah started. Solution is always about, first, sincerity of purpose. Do you really want this marriage till death do us apart in sickness and health, for richer, for poorer? Not, kolomo mi fe momo, sick mi fe momo, kolobi mi fe momo. That sincerity is part of the solution. For me, you have to question why somebody goes into a marriage. And like I said, as a community person in London, I see some marriage, and I see some of our ladies, some of our women, like we said, they have their feast of the Quran. Iwa won ba mi leru. I will say it. Iwa lesson is part of our sunnah and our date. Yes, we can be hafiz of the Quran, but them bori, but niwa. I used to be like shaitani regime. That's part of the solution. The sincerity of purpose is important. The communication is important, like my sister said. But also, if tabani beru Ọlọ́run ká check ara pẹ̀lú ìwà wa. Ẹlòmíì bó ṣe ń ṣe ní kọ́ ló ṣe ń ṣe ń ta. Ẹlòmíì 3 or 4 face ni, tó bá rọ́kọ á hùwà kan, tó bá rí àwọn ẹbí ọkọ á hùwà kan, tó bá rí àwọn ẹbí tí á hùwà kan, tó bá débi iṣẹ́ á hùwà kan. Àwọn èèyàn wà confused because wọ́n rí pé ó ń borí. Ó dẹ̀ mọ kéwú, ó ní gbogbo ẹ̀ lára, ṣùgbọ́n ìwẹ̀, that's our attitude, our behavior is part of the solution. It is something that I really, and I'm so happy. I'm privileged to be on the platform with Ajam Lema, because I follow our program. I follow our program and I listen to what she presents. So it is something we really, really need. Like Ajia said, we really need to really emphasize more. We did a program, like you mentioned, because as a deputy admiral for Form 1, we did a program last year. And one of the things we said last year for our marriage congress was exactly what Adia said. Women Congress, by the way, actually March last year. We women have to raise our boys differently now. And the relevance of this is part of the solution we need. So problems we have in marriage. Part of the problem we have now is there's imbalance, like you said, and we'll be reacting to body but like you said, some men, yes, the office of the Quran, so that's part of the solution. We women, our mothers, our sisters, and aunties, we have to now change the narrative. Àwọn ọmọ táwa bí ń sìn, a fẹ́ kán ní ìgbéyàwó dáadáa. Because let's face it, whether in Nigeria or here, you are young couple breaking up, and you're wondering why. They have this big walima wedding, and I'm talking big walima. Within a year or two, why? Because it's not they're not compatible, but they won't need sùúrù tó, wọ́n ní àgbọ́yé ẹ̀sìn tó, wọ́n ní ìfaradà tó, and they cannot communicate because to be ayé obìnrin ni, ayé ọkùnrin ni, kò sí no go area. And that is part of the solution. The changing the narrative, how we bring up our children, our boys especially, for them to understand, yes, ayé súnà ayé kúrọ̀nàtọ̀, but ìbáragbe ọkọ àtaya nínú ilé, ìwà ni, ìfaradà ni, patience ni, adẹ̀ láti ní, it's not just about love. I listened to a lecture today. I was quite moved because I was coming here. The lecturer was saying today, in everything, we have to put excellency and perfection. You can't go to marriage in half-half. You have to put all your energy. You have to put all your energy into it to make it work. There are some marriages that, I like just say it with love, that, and openly, and I really admire your colleague for saying it. You have infertility and your husband supported you, and here you are today, sharing your journey. And that is part of the solution. We're able to share our experiences. I've often shared my experiences when I do presentation as well. Part of condemn Marawa. Taba married. Issue money, we support that woman. Or colony issue ni, we support each other. That's part of the solution. Supporting each other in marriage where there are issues. It's not just about not having children. You could go into marriage. I was listening to a program as well. Or married Muslim couple, no anyone. I think within 3 months, or call accident, severely disabled. These are reality of life. You marry, you never know where the journey is going to take you. But can we be supportive and understanding? Because if you go into that marriage with sincerity, like I just said, you really then need to appreciate the will of Almighty alive. That don't bad day will fail yasi. So funny pay bye bye ni. So you pay the instant salvation of life. I want a big house, I want this, I want that. And that's part of the solution. To understand that certain things will happen, but the way we react, the way we conduct during that period is very crucial. Because issue, but behave to what the issue by me. So in marriage, for me, yes, sincerity of foremost, communication, supporting, changing the narrative, and also can you be alone? Bí Alhaja ṣe sọ, Quran lays down what marriage is, what we do in marriage. The sunnah is there, the hadith is there. Ṣé a fẹ́ra wa ní òdodo ni nílànà Ọlọ́run? Ṣé a fẹ́ra wa nílànà Ọlọ́run? I'm always saying it, even though I live in Britain, doesn't mean pé kí n sọ ẹ̀sìn mi nù, doesn't mean pé kí n sọ wà mí nù. Because àwọn èèyàn máa sọ pé àwọn ọmọ London, àwọn ọmọ abroad kìíní, máa sọ pé London ni ká sọ ẹ̀sìn wa nù, London ni ká sọ culture wa nù. It is down to me to make it work. It is down to me to It is down to me to be mindful when I dress like this, or I'm representing Islam. And what does Islam expect of me as a Muslim woman? And for me, I want to address the issue that for those of us that live in diaspora, abroad, we're the king and mighty. Because some to feel abroad, or away belu, elomi ma de ọba sílé, ọkọ ò lè sọ̀rọ̀. Vice versa, bring me, no. And the marriage now becomes intolerable. Because what's holding them together is that paper. Chauffeur around to the paper ni. Because that's where the sincerity of purpose is. Kí ló fi fọ́bìnrin yẹn, kí ló fi fọ́kùnrin yẹn. Ṣé nǹkan ìyẹn lẹ wá fi ń bára yín lò tẹ́ pé really fẹ́ra yín nílànà Ọlọ́run. That's part of the solution. We really need to go back to our Quran, our Sunnah, our Hadith, and also our culture. Can they check Iwarawa? I could go on as well, but I wanted to draw it to bring it together from what my sisters have said, because this is an issue we endure in our community. And the other thing, to my wrap up, Elomi marry, because it's sincerity of purpose, because it's a big topic actually, like what Alaja said. Elomi, kò wà capable to marry, but tó bá láti satisfy our parents. And I mean, when I say capable, bóyá kò tiẹ̀ nífẹ̀ẹ́ obìnrin. I've had cases like that. Kò nífẹ̀ẹ́ obìnrin, ó ń bo, ó suppress his sexuality, but ó fẹ́ ṣojú ayé pé ọkùnrin ni mí, I'm married. We are in the Western world now. Let's have that sincerity of us when we say we allow we're Muslim. Tí Ọlọ́run bá ní pé o ò nífẹ̀ẹ́ obìnrin, o ò nífẹ̀ẹ́ marriage ò ṣe tipátipá. Má tan rẹ̀, má tan ìyàwó tó fẹ́. Vice versa, obìnrin náà. Ẹ má yẹ ká tanra wa ká fẹ́ra wa torí owó, torí pretense. Má ṣojú ayé, ẹ má yẹ ká tanra wa. Marriage, as Allah has ordained, is a contract between man and woman. It's for life, it's for companionship. Yes, it's for procreation, can be more. Ṣùgbọ́n that's the sincerity of purpose and the will of Allah pé ká ṣe t'Ọlọ́run is fundamental, and that will be part of the solution. Tá bá ti rántí pé gbogbo tá bá ń ṣe ìlànà Ọlọ́run ni, Ọlọ́run á máa gbà gbogbo difficult bá Ọlọ́run á máa fún wa lọ́nà ṣe. Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ìtí máa tún fẹ́ kí ìyá wa Nehma tẹ́ bá ń gbójú insha Allah ó ní pé àwọn ìgbéyàwó kan wà tó yẹ pé ọkọ lè wà adamant àbí kí ìyàwó wà adamant kó jẹ́ pé ń ta ní kán má ṣe yẹn gangan ni wọ́n máa ṣe. Báwo lè yóò ṣe deal pẹ̀lú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ tó yẹ pé agbọ́nlùgbẹ̀rù ni kò ní fẹ́ gbọ́, báwo láyé ṣe nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀? Bismillah.
Àwọn nǹkan tó le jùlẹ̀ fún mi o. Ibi tẹ gbédé yìí, communication tí Alájà Kéwúṣọlá sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn, nǹkan tó máa ń impede jù ni agídí tẹ ṣàlàyé sìn of either parties, because Ọlọ́run náà sọ pé mediate between them in the Quran. If Allah wills, if they will, they're willing, Allah would allow a solution, the resolution between them. Most times communication máa ń le nítorí external parties to marriage. No, external parties tí mo mean, because ní Islam gan, marriage ò ń ṣe bá ṣe máa ń sọ ní Africa, you marry family o. It is two people who are supposed to grow together. Ẹni tí wọ́n wá ń wò bóyá sister kan tó ní marriage títí ẹ̀ á máa gbé examples of frustration marriage ẹ̀ wá take out on a couple who seek the advice, or kó jẹ́ pé ìyá, most times the people who have authority are ìyá ọkọ, and in some very weird cases ìyá ìyàwó, that one shocks me. Tí ìyá ìyàwó máa wà níbì kan tó jìnnà bóyá nílé ọkọ ẹ̀, á máa pàṣẹ fún ọmọbìnrin pé kó má jẹ́ kí ilé ọkọ tura fọ́kọ ẹ̀, ọmọ ẹ̀ o. And àwọn ilé they are rare, but the most ones are women. And I'm not talking baboko, but I meant mother-in-law on the female or male side now. Most times we don't leave our past in our past. The way that I believe that mothers-in-law should treat a marriage of their children, because our immediate is to be friends with either party. Tí ọkọ bá fẹ́ ọmọ yín tó jóbìnrin, ọmọ yẹn ti di ọmọ yín, the best you can do is adopt him, love him, and be his friend. That way, If interest ọmọ tẹ́ fẹ́ protect kò ní máa come from you usurping and interfering in the marriage, but ìgbà téèyàn yẹn ti nífẹ̀ẹ́ yín òun kò fẹ́ ṣẹ̀yìn, ó fẹ́ múnú yín dùn, àtọ́jú ọmọ yín. But some people are so confrontational, they are in the marriage. Some people will move into the house under the guise that ó máa tọ́jú màmá. So we are now forced to do something that is un-Islamic. In Islam, ọ̀nà ni pé kéèyàn tọ́jú àwọn òbí ẹ̀. Tí ọkọ bá ní ìyá tó ti ń dàgbà, ọ̀nà ni pé kó gbé ìyá yẹn wọlé. But ìgbà tí ìyá gan ọmọ wa rẹ̀, this child to safeguard the home would be forced to say, màmá mi ẹ jókòó sílùú, a máa fowó ránṣẹ́ sí. It is not Islam. But when the mother cannot control her excesses, kò dẹ̀ mọ limit ẹ̀. So it is normal for a wife in Islam to wear the hijab. It's compulsory to wear it outside. It's not compulsory for her to be fully covered in the house. But tí ọkọ bá wá wà nítorí ó ga o ẹ̀yin ohun ọṣọ ni, what do you want her to entice her husband with? Because she cannot mind your business in the marriage. Or you are wearing anklets ni. Is there anything in Islam that makes anklet a sin? These are the things she needs to beautify herself, but you're in the marriage. The far one is to say, ìyàwó yẹn ò lè ṣiṣẹ́ àwọn iṣẹ́ kan. And the couple, maybe they agreed at the beginning, I want to pursue a career. How do we make it work? For me, for instance, we are making it work. I don't have mates. If I wake up in the morning tomorrow and I'm feeling a bit tired, I cannot cook today. My husband can, because that's the worst thing he can do. He doesn't know how to cook, even though he knows he hates to do it. So he can say, no, not today, madam, go and do your cooking. So then I'm forced to drag myself there. But in my marriage, there are other things I cannot do. House chores, he does it faster. Cooking, so we meet each other halfway. I know my limits. Me, if I want to punish him, I will go on strike and say, this kitchen, I'm not touching it today. I want to sleep. But both of us will be hungry because we don't have a cook. But he does so many things for me that I cannot even start to count here in the house. But the goal is the children must not at any time be made victims of our excesses. But if we now have a mother, someone visiting, maybe I have trying pregnancies. Tiba no you by, if I'm not careful, I'll be on bed rest after a while. So when I'm on bed rest and you're telling me, I'm emotionally dealing with that pregnancy. Of course, I will not want to see you. And those are some of the examples that I have. I hate to choose from other people's examples, so I usually use mine. A home, I always say, is an establishment. If a man is now that person that you cannot converse with, the best thing is to find somebody that he holds in high esteem to have that conversation respectfully with. But for some men, it's still an issue. Some men will still make that an issue. So the best thing I always say, if the man is willing, or I always plead with most women, when the marriage is at stake, when the risk is that I will lose this marriage, and then he changes, that means he values the relationship. And once he gets to that point, we find a way to get him to counseling. I always send them to Olokodano's place in Maryland. But most couples in Islam, we don't understand the extent of counseling in marriage. For me, what I did, because my husband too is like that, he will not go to counseling. So I am on Yakin Institute. I'm on Mufti Menk every morning before I leave. I drive for work. When I wake up in the morning and I'm cooking, the khutbah is playing. But yeah, assume but I want to address an issue in my home. I will search particularly for the one I want. I will then play it as if I'm the one listening to it. I'll be checking. And by the time I'm done, and because it's sincere, I pray about my marriage as well. And I don't know why people don't do that. When I have to communicate an issue and I'm looking that this issue is beyond his understanding, he's not listening to me, I will do ablution, 2 rakah, even if it's my nawafil after salah. Say, God, please help me let me be his ear, let me be the mouth and the eyes with which he will see this issue. And every time it has worked as like magic. That's why I say to be sincere is the basis first. So every time it works like magic, because by the time I want to approach the issue again, it's not me who will start it. He will be like, this your wahala self is getting too much for me. Do you want to discuss this issue? Then I can do shakarasma and say, maybe I told you when you didn't want to talk. So we have our issues, and there are some that we never really discuss. Some issues that I see that is too sensitive, I just drop it. So it doesn't mean that you're being abused. Some issues in my marriage took me 8 years to address. I remember now. I'm just not going to give you details. It took me 8 years. So every time I start it is sensitive, I drop it. After a while, I just did not start it again. And after 8 years, one day, madam, this thing that I haven't been repeating, can we talk about it? I said, it's about time, okay. And I took a pen and paper and we noted out our points. We trashed it one time and everything was done. But it took me 8 years of patience. It's not enough to destroy the home and say this can't work. Every time you reinvent solutions. But if it's the worst case scenario, this is what breaks the marriage. For a couple to say, I will never, ever grant you audience over something. If you sincerely married the person is a human being. Kò sí kankan nínú wa tó máa fẹ́ rọ́kọ. It is people, àwa ta ní emotions, ta ní ẹran ara, we have emotions, we have flesh, we have demands, we have needs that we must have discussed. And then there's the part of sexual pleasure that we shy away from a lot of times. While we were growing up, it was made to even look sinful. But fortunately for reading early, so these are conversations that couples must have. It is not a conversation you must have with your friends. That's the mistake our sisters make. We wait for sister circle to be pointing one finger, to be asking the questions that we should have talked about at home, probably because we're ashamed at it. So if a sister is married to a brother, ó dẹ̀ béèrè nǹkan kan nípa sexual relationship àwọn méjèèjì, I think it is honor for the brother to even hear it from her mouth, because we were supposed to be shy and not ask such questions. So for that, and the communication, sir, is the solution to a stubborn person. Hopefully, if you can't solve it by talking to him, you can get him to counseling where the matter will be tabled properly by professionals and he might be made to see it. But because counseling is also extremely important, because sometimes ọkùnrin yẹn kò ṣe pé kò fẹ́ kí marriage yẹn ṣiṣẹ́ o, but he knows no better. Ẹlòmíì just doesn't know how to make, he doesn't see this as a problem, probably from his background or the exposure as limited or as wide as he had from the people he role models. So maybe his parents' marriage is his ideal marriage, and that was a faulty marriage. And you cannot see differently because maybe the mother put up with it. You then ask your wife, put up with it, but she's made of a different breed than your parents. You know, so sometimes you push them to counseling, and the Islamic counseling, that's why when I'm saying counseling, I don't mean those people that are life coach, or you know, they have solution to everybody's problem except their own. Muslim counselors who will do Islamic bias counseling for you as a couple or as a single person when you come for counseling. And I always say Ghania anywhere I go because I use her. She's a psychiatrist and psychologist and life coach, and she's a Muslim with the Islamic bias. So that will help Muslim couples through problems. There's no big problem that can be solved. It's because you've not seen it the way it is, or you don't know how to solve it. So they will do that for you, and I think that solves the problems. The question can be missing.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin tó yá wa kí ó ṣọlá kí la lè pè ní key to treasure in a marriage, kí la lè pè bẹ́ẹ̀ láàrin bí ìṣẹ́jú tí ò ní pẹ́, bismillah.
Yeah, there are so many things to treasure in a marriage, but I'll limit it to, I think, 3 or 4 things. The first thing would be your religion. So religion is a key thing to treasure in any relationship. If you are of different religion, there may be problems here and there, especially when maybe this one is too spiritual or the other one is just like a sister said earlier on, where maybe somebody's in labor, pray, and that person is saying, oh, hey, there we go again. So the same value, you know, it's a problem. So when you have the same religion, the same faith, you share the same values, then you'll be able to communicate. It's something to share, to treasure, because you'll be able to pray together, you go to a salatu together, you fast together, you do so many things together. So ẹ̀yin rí ìyàtọ̀ púpọ̀. Tí ẹni bá sọ pé okay, báyìí ló ṣe yẹ ká ṣàdúrà, or maybe you should do nawafil like 2 rakat, then before we put this, before we engage in this thing, ọkùnrin or the other person will not see it as if that person is going to the extreme. So tẹ́ bá ní the same, tẹ́ bá jọ share the same religion, tẹ́ jọ ní the same faith, ẹ máa lè share, ẹ máa lè ní, ẹ máa lè maintain marriage yín, ẹ máa lè gbé sórí kí ló ń pè pé ẹ máa lè fi Ọlọ́run ṣe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the pillar of your marriage. Yeah, so that will be the foundation on which you build your marriage upon. Wọ́n dẹ̀ sọ pé kò sẹ́ni tó dúró tọ́lọ́run tó máa ń jogún òfò. So that is the most important thing to treasure in a marriage. Another thing is love. Love is different from feelings. Feelings come and go, but love stays forever. It involves commitment. It involves a lot of things. When you are in love, you are not self-centered. You are not selfish. You are not talking about or thinking about yourself alone. You are, thinking about every other person in the household. You are there for everyone. You're there for your wife or your husband, as the case may be. You're there for your parents. You're there for your children. So you are a mother as a woman. You are a wife. You are an employee. So you are like an all-rounder. But by the time that you be engaging in all these functions, you won't even feel it. You won't see it as if you are doing anybody a favor. You're seeing that you're contributing your own quota to making that relationship work. But if one is self-centered, then problems lies somewhere there. Even in discussion, it can't be only you. You should be able to listen to other people. You should be able to think about other people in the relationship. So if you are the type that problem. So love is very, very important. Love takes away so many things. With love, èèyàn àti gba oríṣiríṣi fọ́kùnrin àbí gba oríṣiríṣi fún bèèrè tí ò tẹ̀ ní mọ̀ gan pé òun gba nǹkan yẹn. Like Sister Nima said.
Naam.
Okay.
Naam, I'm going.
Okay, sorry, sir. So like Sister Nima said that her husband, does a lot of things for her. Ẹni yẹn máa ṣe willingly because ó mọ̀ pé kò kí ń ṣe pé ẹni yẹn force òun ṣe. Ó dẹ̀ mọ̀ pé tẹ́ni yẹn bá lè ṣe, ó máa ṣe. So that is what we call love. So you do things for each other, without even thinking about it. You do it without even realizing that you're doing it. Then respect. Respect is huge. Especially men, they love to be respected. No amount of love that you can share, if you are disrespectful, kò lè sí peace nínú ilé yẹn. There's an adage of, sayings pé in almost every man, there is a beast and a king in them. So it depends. If you are a queen to your husband, then you get the king side of your husband. But if you are the one that will, tó jẹ́ pé sọ́ni mọ́kọ ẹ àbí oríkì ọkọ ẹ ni olórí burúkú.
Ẹnìkan pè wọlé wá gan fẹ́ béèrè ẹ má bínú. Salaam alaikum.
All right.
Salaam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Naam, bismillah.
Yes, alhamdulillah. My name is Ali Muhammad Murtado. I'm calling from Washington, D.C. May Almighty Allah reward each and every one of you for this brilliant contributions. And I have a quick question for our guest from Nigeria, Alaja Adia Nima, if I'm not wrong. I can see that there's one area that we all ignore, and which is also part of challenges, especially in Muslim home. I don't know, maybe because of our understanding or our background. And I want you to react to this or to give advice on it. Maybe can another wife, marrying another wife, she only cause a problem in marriage of Muslim. Although some people in diaspora, because of the legal situation of the country, they might think, no. But generally now, she will give another wife the problem When you go in so you are just talking about now. The issue of second wife, can this cause problem to marriage? That is one. The second question, quick one. You do mention something about the external forces or external factor like parents involving in the marriage. Sometimes I see that is the only means or that is the only channel. Sometimes because an angry man is an angry man. Definitely won't be known. There might not be a room for them to talk to each other. We do see communication. Now, the issue of the parent now, is it something that is not necessary in marriage? Or is something that we should see as a second option for reconciliation in marriage? So these are my two questions.
Okay. Are these my questions?
Yes.
Okay. So they are not entirely bad for a marriage. That's what I said. They're extremely important to be close to family in a marriage, but they have to have the same intention as you for that marriage to work, so that they are not advising for the marriage to break up. So this is how I see it. If you have a parent that you're reporting to in your marriage, as your marriage is, and the advice the parents can give every time is to the parents will never bother to hear from the other person's side. So if it's a wife and you're reporting to your mother, for instance, and she's talking to your wife, she's supposed to come to your wife like a relative or an auntie, someone she's close to, and say, okay, what is on your mind? Just this week, like I said, I had to talk to a wife because her husband had called my attention to their marriage. And by the time I called the wife, I will not just call the wife and say, they said that you went to go back to your mother's, you're a very silly girl. What is even wrong with you? Is that how your mother survived in her father's marriage? That's not the language. What I asked her is, what is on your mind? Talk to me, I'm your sister. And even though she did not want to, I kept saying to her, please. I kept begging. It's not about age. The age gap is there, but my goal is to mediate. So I understand it 100%. So till she was able to open up, and it were basically emotional issues that had pent up. Now, the brother, for instance, does not have any explanation for why she's like that, because he does not understand how the female mind works. By the time I was able to walk her through that these are entirely female issues, I would understand, but this brother would just be wondering, that one, is it even an issue? The other one, is it even an issue? He's wondering. So by the time I went back to talk to the brother, the language is, you have totally misunderstood this woman. Did you do this? He said, even that one, I explained it to her now. You come home late, you don't eat her food, there's no communication. I don't understand how brothers would come home from work and not hug their wives. When the Rasul Sallam would put, even in itikaf, and Aisha would be combing his hair for him. These were kindness, acts of kindness that they encourage their love to grow. So that's the language. But when when your mother, for instance, is like a mother I had to handle a case for, who would say, ìyàwó ibo ló lọ, ó tún ti lọ lé àwọn ẹbí ẹ̀, the next time tó bá ń lọ, a máa gbọmọ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ ni kò gbọmọ wá. The girl is in a place where you now bring a confrontation. Are you solving a problem? And truly, the next time she has an issue and she's saying, mommy, kọ́kọ́ gbọ́ ọmọ yẹn wá ná, and you strap the child to your back, níbo lọ́nà lẹ́yìn tó bá fẹ́ máa lọ báyìí. Should you, if that's your mother, tell that same person tomorrow the problem that you have with your wife? You're not mature if that's the person you will tell, even if she's your mother that birthed you. You are supposed to be of mature mind to know the difference. So family helped in my own marriage. In my tradition in Aochi, because I'm not Yoruba, when a girl is married out, there's an elder person in the family who is most likely had been before that time married into the same family the girl is married. My husband is also from my place, and we have the same tradition. So when I was married, they will say honorary egbana, that's like a surrogate mother, so that your wife's mother can be too sensitive about her. But this surrogate mother is supposed to be an unbiased person who, when your wife is not maturing enough and misbehaving, when you take your issues to that person can look at it from a place of an unbiased individual. So a mother will still love her child and say, have small patience. But that unbiased person will be able to call your wife, I'm in a marriage as well. Try and do this, work this, understand this. And that worked for me. I have that in my auntie, my father's cousin, who that's the relationship we have. And she understood the brief clearly. The first time my husband went to her, I was summoned. So we have that, but these family members are not here. And when they talk to us, both parties, they call and follow through to ensure that we're working at the marriage. And like I said, it was a completely no courtship marriage. So a lot of factors helped us work through. In fact, that my auntie was in the medical line. At the time of the infertility treatment, when it wasn't progressing, we took the results to her and she consulted. She was the one who got the second opinion. But if we took it to her and she was like, or it may be on his own side and the person is like, wow, we have not seen this type of thing before. What's this thing? This your wife, she been in Lagos then born am, and the kind of comments harsh or whichever way they put it, if it is negative and wrong, it can be the basis of why the marriage will separate. So family are needed if they know what they're doing. And you would know about the advice from the way the person gives it or the way you see them treat your wife. But for the issue of the second wife, in Islam, it is a solution, and I would not amend the Sunnah of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or the requirements of the Quran, the privileges given to men in the Quran. So me, I am not against polygamy. But there's a very core part of polygamy that we forget. I was emphasizing empathy in marriage. The person you are bringing the wife to meet, you are asking the person to strip herself of emotions so that you can judge her to be a faithful woman who believes in Allah because you want to enjoy the benefits of two women. That's selfish. You are entitled to that benefit, but you can have a bit of respect and consideration for the emotions of the other person. You can be a reassuring husband. This is not to slight you, and I will do everything, to ensure that you're not abused. You cannot give a woman cannot give you 20 years before you realize you have the powers. Okay, maybe by the time you married, both of you were not financially buoyant. You have grown. You are now financially strong, and the solution is that, okay, now I have the right to two wives, and I'm going to take it, and you can go to hell. Because you just form for yourself an enemy depending on the kind of woman that you have. No matter how God-fearing she is, she wants to accept the polygamy. If you rub it in her face every time, she might not hate you, maybe out of fear of what will happen to her children or how she will survive or how she'll move on. But she will never accept the other woman. She will see her as, you came in, you are the enemy that came to destroy my home. So it's the way the men handle polygamy. That's why it's not working. If you see the polygamies that are working, we need to have those kind of men and sit them through and go into their minds and see how it works. But you cannot have a polygamy of by force. Or the one that I cannot understand is the woman is saying, this is my space. Marry your wife, but please can I not have? And you're saying, even if you have a child, you cannot force the mother of the child to love the child. She will grow in love with the child. It is not strange. We've seen before where somebody has two children and for reasons beyond human comprehension cannot love one the way they love the other. The children that the woman birthed and breastfed. So how come you want to bring another woman and you want to compel the love and acceptance of that woman on the person inside? Especially the person that feels threatened. So your role as a husband, when you should be more mature and circumspect, you watch the woman and say, okay, these are your fears. These are my reassurances to you. But these are my rights in Islam. Can I have them? Not seeking her permission now. You're taking your permission because you don't require her permission. You just need to notify her. But then you have to respect her. But if you lack the ability to respect, those are the basis for why most polygamies fail. I think we should just please mature enough to do that. Well, I know A Date with a Smile is trending on YouTube, the movie that we did regarding polygamy. But I would not want somebody to just go and say, we're moving here, but two eyes are coming after you. Like, kill yourself. And we've seen extreme cases like that where women have entered extreme cases of depression, and it's a serious mental issue. If the mental health of your first wife is not strong enough for what you're bringing on, you take full responsibility, because whether we like it or not, there's that silent part of the Quran when we say men alone, where Allah says if you can do justice, we silent that part a lot. So justice is not about how much how you can love her. It's your balance in judgment and your fairness, how you can do that between the two parties or the two wives.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Nítorí àsìkò, a kàn béèrè lọ́wọ́ ìyá wa Akéwùsọ́lá láàrin ìṣẹ́jú kan. Kí ni n tẹ́ fẹ́ fi ibo lẹ fẹ́ fi tì sí láàrin ìgbéyàwó? Báwo ló ṣe lè dùn kó lè lárinrin? Bó bá tiẹ̀ mì, kí lọkọ àtìyàwó lè ṣe láàrin ìṣẹ́jú kan ká máa fi yẹn round up, insha Allah.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Everybody on the platform today has said so many things, so many wonderful things, so many take-home things that we all can go back and reflect on and then make use of it in our own individual lives to better our relationships, our marriages, and our homes. So that being said, so as I was saying earlier on, marriage is a lifetime contract. It's just unfortunate that, these days it's been cut short, by separation and divorce. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kó bá wa mú ilé gbogbo wa dúró àti gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n ṣì ní problem yẹn ní lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí. So if you experiencing some ups and downs in your relationship, so first and foremost, you need to speak out. When I say speak up, you need to speak to the right person. You need to go through the right channel, because if you are bottling up things, if you are holding on things to yourself, it's not the best. This can lead to depression. It can increase your anxiety. Ó lè fún yàn ní oríṣiríṣi medical ailments. Ó lè fún yàn ní mental health problems. So you don't want to bottle up things. You don't want to build walls in your home. So you want to speak to the right person. So jẹ́ pé wọ́n lè wà unbiased láti sọ òótọ́ fún the first person at the both parties in the relationship. Like Sister Nima said, that wọ́n ní àwọn life coaches, àwọn relationship builders tó jẹ́ Muslim tí wọ́n lè ṣe. So people like that, you can seek assistance from them. Most men will not want to go, but the woman can start. And then whatever you are taught there, can start bringing it. Láti máa lò nínú ilé. So at some point in time, oh my shit. I'm so sorry. I'm using my phone. Okay. Ṣá ṣì ń gbọ́ mi ṣá? Hello?
Faith.
Okay. Ṣé ń gbọ́ nísìnyí?
Better.
Yeah. Okay. So, then téèyàn bá dẹ̀ lọ sínú relationship yẹn with commitment, tó di pé, it's a lifetime contract. Tó lọ sínú relationship with commitment. So whatever is happening there, ó ti mọ̀ pé it's a no-go area kóun jáde nínú ibẹ̀ yẹn. For instance, nísìnyí tẹ́ bá lọ sí school, ẹ lọ primary, secondary school, university, ẹ gba certificate. You don't want anything to happen to that certificate. So see your marriage as that. You have invested a lot in this relationship. So you have, school, you have obtained your certificate. You want to keep the certificate for life. You don't want to lose that certificate. So you will do anything within your capabilities to ensure that it works. Communication, we cannot emphasize it enough. So tá ẹ bá ti lè jọ bára yín sọ̀rọ̀, ẹ kàn máa ṣe gbọ́ mi tó mi ò sọ nínú ilé, ẹ máa escalate situation yẹn ni. Ẹ ní lè make ends meet. Ẹ ní lè try to work out things. Ẹ ní lè settle nǹkan amicably. Kò ní augur well tó. And this thing will have effect on the children into that marriage. Àwọn ọmọ yẹn in the future, wọ́n máa ní emotional instability. Wọ́n máa ní self-esteem wọn ó máa low. Then wọ́n máa wà extremely anxious, and they will always be on the defensive side. Pé kí nǹkan kan tó ṣẹlẹ̀, wọ́n ti rò ó lóríṣiríṣi pé these are the likely things to happen. So wọ́n máa wà extra vigilant. Ó máa take ọkùnrin yẹn or obìnrin tó jẹ́ partner wọn yẹn a lot of work láti lè jẹ́ kí láti lè calm wọn down. Ẹni tí ò bá dẹ̀ ní sùúrù bíi ti tiwọn náà, relationship yẹn kò ní last. So in a nutshell, we just want everybody to believe that marriage is a lifetime contract. It's not something that you go. I remember then that I used to tell my dad when some people after my service, when they went to him and said, ó ń ṣakọ ni, ó ń fọkùnrin ṣakọ, kò mú kan wá, kò mú kan wá. So for the first time in my life, my dad called me and said, what is happening? So I remember vividly well that I told him that, Alaji, you know what? Marriage is a lifetime contract. You won't even want that for me. And since that time, títí mo fi marry, bàbá mi ò bá mi sọ mọ́, kò béèrè mọ́. So tá bá ti ní notion yẹn nínú wa pé, you know, we are going into it with everything that we have. Let's make it work. Then it will work out for us. So then ká má compare relationship wa pẹ̀lú other relationship out there. No two marriages can be the same. It's not possible. Even the twin tí wọ́n bí níjọ́ kan náà nínú kan náà, wọ́n ní different characters, wọ́n ní different attitudes. Tá bá lè wo eléyìí pé, you know, ìka wa náà kò dọ́gba. So tá bá ti lè compare pé ọkọ kinní kan ó ṣe kinní kan fún, àbí ìyàwó kinní kan ó ṣe kinní kan fún, tó wà contented pẹ̀lú nǹkan tó ní, to believe that this is your home, you want to make it good. So all my work for him, and my live on what you have. And you unnecessary headache. So Ọlọ́run á bá gbogbo wa mú ilé wa dúró. Ọlọ́run ò ní dá gbogbo wa láàmú. So gbogbo ìtasọ lẹ́ni náà, Ọlọ́run á jẹ́ kó wúlò fún gbogbo wa láyé àti ní àlùkìyámọ̀.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ibi ni a rí délé nítorí àsìkò. Tabawo Nigeria ń sìn, wọ́n ti fẹ́ wà lọ́wọ́ òru. Inshallah, aki ìyá wa ní ìmọ̀ kí Ọlọ́run bá kí yín, Ọlọ́run bá gbà fún yín, Ọlọ́run gbọ́ Ọlọ́run. A tún fẹ́ more of you lórí program yìí, inshallah. Ìyá wa Bliki Savage, Ọlọ́run bá ṣe dáadáa fún yín, Ọlọ́run ní kọ̀ fún yín. Ìyá wa kí ó ṣọlá ìdàlà àmọ́ mi, inshallah. Wá tá wà ní àríbí àrí ẹ̀kọ́ kan àbí kejì kọ́ nínú nǹkan tí a ṣe kí Ọlọ́run bá dúró àná. Wala la hawla wala quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Allahumma rabbana ya rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmatan innaka antal wahhab. Allahumma antal kullu wa minkal kullu wa ilaykal kullu wa zakal kullu wa kullu bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamu ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ẹ̀yin viewers ẹ má jà gbàgbé a ní special prayer ní alẹ́ ní inshallah 12:30 Eastern Time, 11:30 Central Time, Pacific Time wa 9:30 ní inshallah. Yàwá ní mọ̀lẹ́kan sí jazakumullahu khairan jaza, Ọlọ́run bá ṣe dáadáa fún yín. Yàwá Akínsọ́lá ilal amami inshallah. Yàwá Bliki Savage wa rafa'nahu makana aliyya. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Naam.
One thing quickly, sir. I want you to send the text to me. When it's about places, can you next time? She want my red question. I want to friendly one. See, she want my dad alone.
Inshallah.
Naam, inshallah ni wọ́n tún dá lóhùn inshallah inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rabbil izzati amma yasifun wassalamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.